Hi, Lakshmi. Thank you for helping my project. Could you say a little bit about yourself?
My name is Lakshmi Krishnan. I currently work for an insurance company in Houston. I'm a CPA by profession. I moved to Houston a couple of years ago from Boston. Um, I have lived in Boston for the last 26 years, and I moved to Houston 2 years ago. So yeah, and my kids are all grown up and settled.
Oh, what's the biggest difference between Boston and Houston, you think?
I think the weather. I don't miss the snow. We had snow up till here, so I don't miss the snow. The weather in Houston is much more acceptable for me.
I know we moved up to New Hampshire for a year and then it started snowing, so we came back here.
Oh, yeah. Well, we lived for more than 2 years.
You're you're a very brave person. Oh, well, did you know that NASA is planning to send astronauts back to the moon?
Yes, I heard. My husband's a big science buff, and he loves this, so I keep myself updated on this. So I did know they were going to the moon. Yes.
What do you think about it?
It is amazing. It's high time NASA got back on that program. I was really disappointed when they put a stop to it. It's in the interest of science, right? The more we learn, the more better for us in the future. So I think it's a very good idea, and it's going the right track. So I'm really happy about it.
When you think about where it might lead, if you think out like 200 years, do you see humanity on multiple planets and like big like orbital facilities and traveling among the stars, or do you think we're still like only on the Earth just doing these short trips?
I When I was growing up, I watched the Jetsons, and I thought when I grew up, we would already be there, and we're not there. So I am assuming maybe for the next few generations, it's not going to happen because there's a lot of limits and there's a lot of moral stuff that we have to consider before we actually go stay in another universe or another planet, right? But it's in the right track. Eventually, we need to find out whether, like, we have to figure out whether there's life on other planets, if there's other things that we can venture. Like that's what makes us human, right? That our thirst for knowledge and our thirst for a new place and a better place. That's what makes us human, right? So, and I'm assuming, like just like the big boom that happened when dinosaurs lived, a meteor hit and they all became extinct. I'm assuming that in another, there's something going to happen big again, and we need to make sure that we have another place. We have to like explore more opportunities and more places and be curious. And in the interest of science, you need to know what's happening outside our Earth.
And so you said something very interesting about there's some moral things we need to figure out. Could you say a little bit more about that?
So for me, the biggest thing that I always worried about when we started exploring space in general is we not only polluted, like we're already having problems about pollution in our current world or Earth that we are living in, and now we're going to making all these space adventures, and we are polluting the space. And when we orbit, we are throwing waste out there. The more we try to do it, the more waste that's going to generate. So we're polluting that space too, right? So that's what bothers me. I feel we talk so much about being sustainable, green energy, and all that, but we are not being that considerate when we are making all these space exploration. So that bothers me. That's what I meant. So the moral issue when I say I want to be more green, I want a sustainable world to leave behind for my grandkids, my kids. I feel like when it comes to space adventure, I hope the future generations keep that in mind when they make all these moon or Mars, and when they explore Mars or moon, and they keep that in mind that when we venture to the other planets, we are keeping the green sustainability values still intact when they do these.
That makes sense. So Do you think humanity is more at risk from something from nature or something from humanity?
Most of the like in I can only speak from what I've experienced, and I feel it's more humanity than any other external factor. uh, my lifetime it has always been humanity creating its own problems, right? um I haven't seen anything that's outside that realm yet, so.
Like a tornado or maybe a disease or things like that.
But that's nature, right? That's controllable. You know how to, like, we went through 3 years of COVID, we got over it, but most of it was again humanity created it, right? If someone who had come being honest and told everybody that the disease was there, we could have controlled it and taken care of it. Again, humanity created, right? Human being who knew they were sick, or like group of individuals who are sick, or a nation who knew about this, if they had made it more. No, I'm not going to talk about that. I think it's humanity who could have controlled it, right? We could have avoided that big catastrophe, right? So, and
Yeah.
as long as now we know how to manage it, we know how to live. When a tornado happens, we know how to protect ourselves, right? So, I'm very impressed. Like if you take Japan for example, um, they are go through earthquakes, they go through all kinds of, because they have, as human beings have learned to work together and live together. They have come out of each disaster, whether it be air crash, right? Like they had an air crash and everybody survived, and because they helped each other out. And the same thing with when they have earthquakes, they know how to survive. They listen to instructions. When they ask to evacuate, they evacuate, right? And so I feel like humanity can create problems at the same time avoid problems. So that's what I feel.
No, absolutely. Yeah, no, it's you make some really good
I
points.
can't hear you, Nathan.
Oh, can you hear me now? Um, how about now? No? That's interesting.
I can't hear you.
Oh, you can't hear me?
One
Um,
second. I can't hear
okay.
you.
Huh.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, you can hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Oh, awesome. Um, it's interesting about Japan. I have often thought, like if we had a few more Tokyos around the world, we would have a lot less environmental impact on the world.
Yeah, I've traveled to Japan a few times, and I see the civic sense instilled in people in every walk of life. Like if you stand in line for a train, if you cross a street, and the way they deal, like there's no trash bins anyway. You take your trash home, and the food that they eat, the drinks that they drink, how they make sure their people are taken care of. It's just amazing when I go there, and I feel like for a small, like it's an island basically, right? So if they are able to take care of their people and they work together, like they always think about how will it affect my neighbor or my friend, right? It's not all about taking care of myself, right? Um, so that's why I'm like, I think like every disaster that's happened, I feel like humanity has contributed to it and never thought about how it's going to impact somebody else or what can I have done better to avoid it, right? So
That makes sense. If you could, would you take a trip to space?
yes.
How far would you go?
Um, I, I, I would like to go to the moon. Not Mars maybe, but moon is something I would love to go to.
Well, that's awesome. Well, that's pretty much all the questions I had for you. Did you have any questions for me or anything else you wanted to add?
Um, how far along in the process are we to actually have a trip to Mars? I see that we've tried a couple of attempts, like we've put a rover there. Is there ever going to be a day when we get, how close are we to making a trip to Mars by
I
human?
I'm kind of optimistic that maybe 20 years.
Oh, wow. Okay, that is interesting. Okay.
I think once SpaceX figures out how to do 100% reusable rocket, that open up a lot of investment and opportunities, and then that will lead to us going to um, to Mars and maybe even further.
Okay. The other thing is, do you think privatization of these kinds of explorations help, or should they be governed by like a, I don't know, a body who's more got other values other than profit? Which do you think will be the most effective way of us getting to, say, the moon, or like going to the moon again, or Mars, keeping values still in place before we go there?
Yeah, I think pretty much whatever organization that really wants to do it, you have for-profit companies that have been in space for a long time, but they've been focused not on making space achievements, but instead in trying to maximize their profits. So clearly that hasn't worked as well. And then you have governments, who have programs that are behind schedule, over budget, this type of thing. Those two kind of go together. So I think not necessarily um, uh, private or public, but the one that's whatever organization really wants to see it happen and making sure that they have the resources to make it happen. So
Yeah, I think it should be a combined effort, maybe, because I remember that submarine that went down to like, if they had not thought about profits, maybe it would have been much better. But I don't know, like, I'm just equating, like, for profit doesn't seem to be the goal here. It should be more for science, with the a goal of research, finding out what's out there, finding out what else is possible, learning more. Like, that's what I feel should be the goal. But yeah. Thank you, Nathan, for letting me do this. I really enjoyed doing this.
thank you so much. Okay, well,
Thank
I'll let you get back to your day. See you on Friday.
Okay, see ya. Bye.
Bye.